Hello and welcome to another episode of the CUFI Weekly. And as Israel continues its war against Hezbollah and Hamas, I wanted to talk about UNIFIL. Now, they've been in the news recently, and I just want to talk a little bit about them and what they do, or rather don't do. UNIFIL stands for the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon. It was established in 1978 when the conflict in southern Lebanon was ongoing. Now, it's more significant post-2006. In 2006, Hezbollah attacked Israel, killing a number of soldiers and taking their bodies into Lebanon. Israel responded, and a war broke out which lasted for just over a month. Now, after that war, the UN Resolution 1701 tasked UNIFIL to work with the Lebanese armed forces in keeping Hezbollah away from Israel's border, keeping Hezbollah on the other side of the Litani River to prevent a future conflict. Now, you don't have to be a political strategist or a geopolitical analyst to see that UNIFIL failed. Rather than Hezbollah being pushed back from the border, Hezbollah became entrenched on the border, essentially controlling it. Rather than being pushed back to create peace and prevent a future conflict, Hezbollah entrenched itself with the support of the regime in Iran, making conflict all the more likely. UNIFIL, like so many of the UN bodies and task force, had proved ineffective. Right now, Israel have asked UNIFIL to withdraw. Why? One, they've not done anything. Two, Israel doesn't want them to be caught in the middle of this war between Hezbollah and the IDF. UNIFIL have pushed back and said that nothing will stop them from doing their job. They've not been doing their job, so I don't really understand what that's about. Once again, the UN showing that it seems to be really comfortable in the company of terrorists. As the IDF has pushed into Lebanon, it has found Hezbollah weapons caches hundreds of yards away from UNIFIL outposts. The IDF intelligence showed that 25 attacks took place right under the nose of UNIFIL, within eyesight of a UNIFIL outpost. And this is what we're dealing with right now. While Israel fights terrorism, while Israel fights terrorism coming from Lebanon, from Gaza, from Yemen, from Iraq, and ultimately emanating from the regime in Iran, world leaders are seemingly trying to bind Israel's hands, forcing them into a terrible ceasefire. Now, why is the ceasefire terrible? Because these terrorist groups are emboldened. They've been empowered. Nobody was telling Hezbollah to stop firing rockets after October 8th. Nobody was putting pressure on the Lebanese armed forces or UNIFIL, whose job it was to stop Hezbollah, to stop this. No, now that Israel is fighting back, that every world leader now has something to say. And to compound this, the American administration days ago told Israel that their supply of weapons in fighting Hamas and trying to get their people back, that supply of weapons was under threat if Israel did not increase aid to Gaza. Why is Israel being held to a different standard than anybody else? No one is holding Egypt responsible for aid to Gaza. Nobody is holding Hamas responsible, who are the cause of this war. Nobody is calling out how Hamas is stealing aid, the logistical issues of getting aid into Gaza because of attacks on drivers. That is completely disregarded. It is squarely blamed on Israel. France earlier said that they would not be selling any weapons to Israel, with Emmanuel Macron telling Israel that that was the only way that a ceasefire would be established in Lebanon and Gaza. Maybe a ceasefire would be established if these terrorist groups gave up their genocidal ideology. Maybe a ceasefire would happen if the Islamic Republic of Iran didn't have a huge countdown timer to when Israel would be wiped off the map. Maybe that would be an idea. But again, international leaders have shown that when it comes to confronting radicalism and extremism, they simply do not have the will or the moral clarity. And then the UN, the UN seem to have not found a terrorist that they don't like working with. From UNRWA being involved in October 7th, to Hamas using UNRWA to hide their weapons, and fire rockets on their facilities. Now you have UNIFIL essentially looking the other way while Hezbollah start a war with Israel. Ultimately, we must say no. We must draw a line in the sand and stand firm. For Israel, for America, for all those who love the same ideals of peace, liberty, and freedom that we cherish. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.